Greetings, class. Mr. Munir here, coming at you with your final project, SketchUp final project description. Okay, here's the deal. You guys have gone through a couple tutorials now on SketchUp, and you've built a couple things, and you've gotten some skills. Now is the time to show what you have learned, and you're going to show that with a final project. So how is this going to work? Well, first things first, everything that I'm going to talk about is in your topics. So if you here and you go to your topics page, go to SketchUp Final Project and click on this link, and you will see SketchUp Final Project description. And just to be clear, there's two different documents, one for my Block 7 class and one for my Block 1 class, but I'm only making one video because the difference is very slight, I should say, and the only difference is literally just in some due dates because you guys have different dates for classes, and I'll address that when we get there. Okay, so what's the deal with the SketchUp Final Project? Well, you've built things that other people have shown you how to build. Now it's your opportunity to build something that you want to build. Now it could be anything. I've got babies, so examples that I made was I said I could build a play area with special baby toys for my babies, or I could make a new stroller with rocket boosters, or design a new kind of bottle helmet where it's like you got a helmet and you could have the bottle directly attached. That would be cool. Yeah, so just some ideas randomly that came to my head when I was coming up with this document, but the point is it can be anything. Now, here's the deal. You don't want to overshoot, right? You don't want to say, I'm going to build the entire layout of New York City, because you're only going to have a few days. I mean, you'll have from now until Monday, April 6th. By the way, that's when the final project is due, is April 6th. So you have from now until April 6th to get it done. You will have a weekend to work on it, and every day in class to work on it as well, but it's a limited amount of time. So you don't want to overshoot and end up underperforming, right? You don't want to say, I'm going to do the whole thing in New York City and then just end up with something that is not even close to that, right? But you also don't want to undershoot, right? You don't want to say, I'm going to build a cardboard box, and you make something that's like a rectangular box and you put a hole in it and then say, here, I'm done. Well, because that's not really impressive, nor is it interesting. You'll be able to get it done, you'll do it well, sure, it'll be a good looking cardboard box, but at the end of the day, it's just a cardboard box. So you don't want to overshoot and try something too complex that you can't finish, and you don't want to undershoot and do something so simple that's just not impressive. Okay, so think about what you want to do. I'm not necessarily going to approve your idea because we just don't have that back and forth capability. It would end up just being a waste of time. So I'm trusting you to pick something that's reasonable. With that being said, it's got to be appropriate, obviously, since you're turning it into me. And just make it fun, make it interesting, make it something that's appropriate to you. Don't just build a house. Like, that's the one thing that I will say, not allowed. You can't build a house. We've already seen a house get built on a tutorial, so that's not interesting. So don't build a house, but you could literally build anything else. And with this next one caveat, I know about the tutorials that are out there on YouTube. I've seen them a bunch of times. I know what's out there on the internet that shows how to make something in SketchUp. If you end up going on YouTube and following a tutorial of someone showing you exactly how to make something and you make that thing, that's cheating. The idea is for you to be creative and do your own work. So yeah, if you just watch a tutorial and just do exactly what someone else does, you're going to end up with a 0. So just don't do that. So with that being said, be creative, make it something fun, make it something personal, make it something that's meaningful to you, something that you're going to have fun with, and something that you're going to be proud of, something that you'll show your parents and be like, check this out, look what I made. Yes, that's the idea. Okay. All right. So let's get into the details. How exactly is this going to work? Well, I'll deal with the what to turn in a second because I'm going to walk you through that. But before I do, I'm going to talk about the due dates and the grading rubric. So you're going to have an export. You're going to export a file, and you're going to have to actually do this not only on that final due date, but as class is going. So usually when we're in class, I'd be able to watch you progress, and I'd be able to see you make progress with every day, but I can't exactly do that with distance learning. So you're going to require to not only submit your final project and the final due date of April 6th, that's Monday, but you're also going to have to submit two, I say that again, two progress updates. So here's the deal. How's it going to work? Well, you're going to have a day of class, and and this is where the difference comes in the documents. For block 1, we would meet on Wednesday and Friday, and then again on Monday. For my block 7, we would meet on Wednesday and Thursday, and then again on Monday. So just be aware of that difference for block 7, because I'm working with the block 1 document right now. So for block 1, we are meeting on Wednesday. We would usually meet in class on Wednesday. So your first progress update is expected by midnight on Wednesday. So what does that mean? What that means is by midnight on Wednesday, you should have started this project, and you should have done something that shows a significant amount of progress. And that is what you're going to submit. And again, I'm going to talk to you about the submission process in a second. Now, your second progress update for block 1 is on Friday, and for block 7 is on Thursday, my block 7 class. And you'll have to do the same thing. Again, I'm going to be looking to see, hey, on Wednesday you submitted this, on Friday you submitted this, there's significant progress. You didn't just slack for the last 2 days and submitted the same thing. So I want to see progress from Wednesday to Friday, because we would meet again. In my block 1 class, we'd meet on Friday. In my block 7, we'd meet on Thursday. And so I'd expect you to be making progress in class. I'm expecting you to make progress on your own. Okay, so that's going to be your second progress update. And then finally, for both classes, block 1 and block 7, your final project is due Monday, April 6th. So fortunately, you have all this week and this upcoming weekend to work on your project. So you've got plenty of time to do this. And that final project is going to be due on Monday, April 6th by 11:59 p.m. Okay, and all of those submission processes are exactly the same. And again, I'm going to walk you through that at the very end of this video, so stay tuned for that. Now, what's the grading rubric? What am I actually looking for? Well, how it works is you're going to receive 1 to 4 points on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different categories, and you'll get the points corresponding to how well you did in that category. I'm not going to go through each and every single one of these, because that's just a lot to read, and you can read the document on your own. Again, it's on my CCA topics. But I'm going to read through what I want as an excellent example. So first category is on time. That means all your progress updates, that's both those progress updates and your final project is submitted on time. Okay, if you submit anything late, you get less points. Variety. What does this mean? Well, many different shapes were used to create design. What that means is if you just literally made rectangles and then extruded them and then made more rectangles and push pull and it's all just rectangles, well, that's only one shape. So that's just 1 point. But if you use rectangles and circles and made your own shapes, triangles and different polygons, and you were creative, you used lines to create different faces, you didn't just use standard shapes over and over again, that's what I'm looking for in the variety. Cool. Details, highly detailed. 1 point is no details. Okay, so highly detailed, what does that mean? If I'm making a chair, it's not just legs and then a thing and then something coming up. That's not really details, that's simple shapes. What I'm looking for is in that chair, you put little design elements in there. It's highly detailed, you put time, you put love into it. 3D warehouse. Now this is something that was gone over in the second tutorial, and I'm going to make a separate tutorial video specifically for the 3D warehouse in case you're kind of shaky on it, but it's really easy to use. And the idea here is that I want to see that you use a 3D warehouse. If you don't use it at all, you get 1 point. But if I'm looking for at least 3 different objects that you pulled in from the 3D warehouse and that they're appropriate. Obviously, it shouldn't be random, but I'm looking to see that you actually used a 3D warehouse and used it to your advantage. Cool. And it could be simple shapes. It doesn't have to be really complex things that you're pulling in from the 3D warehouse, but I'm just looking to see that you're using that because it's such a powerful tool to use in SketchUp. If you want to create a kitchen and you want to put a refrigerator there, you don't have to make your own refrigerator. People have made it before, put it in the 3D warehouse, and you can just use what they've already done. With that being said, obviously in your project, if you just your whole project is just things from 3D Warehouse, well, that's not actually your project. That's something that you've just taken from somebody else, and that's cheating. You're going to get a 0. What I'm expecting to see is those objects in the 3D warehouse, but the main thing that you're building is made by you. So for instance, in my example of like a baby helmet, right? If I wanted to use a baby bottle from the 3D warehouse, but I specifically designed the 3D helmet myself because, oh, the biggest thing is just the helmet. So I'm going to design the helmet and then use a bottle from the 3D warehouse rather than designing both of those myself. Okay, that's acceptable. What wouldn't be acceptable is I got a helmet from the 3D warehouse and a bottle from the 3D warehouse and then put them together and said, hey, this is my project. That's obviously not acceptable. Okay, and similarly, like if I designed a stroller with rocket boosters, maybe, I get the stroller wheels from the 3D warehouse because I don't want to make the wheels, oh, I can't get the wheels, but I make the stroller myself and the rocket boosters myself too, because that's the main aspect of my thing. Or maybe someone's created really intricate rocket boosters, and so I create the stroller and the harnesses, and I design it specifically, and I put the rocket boosters in there. So it's a it's up to you, but the spirit of it is what matters. Okay, you're not pulling in something from the 3D warehouse and calling it your project. You're doing the work, and then once you've done your work, you add things in from the 3D warehouse to make it look more cool. All right, so that's that. Accuracy. Design looks like a real life representation. Now, obviously, I'm going to be grading this with an understanding that you're brand new to SketchUp. If you decide that you want to create something really cool, like, I don't know, a sports car, am I expecting you to make it look like someone who's been using CAD for 20 years is making a sports car? No. But what I am expecting is it's not just a box with circles on it and you call that a car. That would be, not lifelike at all. So I'm looking for it to look as realistic as I can expect you to make something at this point. Okay, textures. You learned how to make textures in the video, add textures. If you don't use textures, you get 1 point. If you fill your shapes with appropriate textures, that means, hey, if something should be made out of wood, you make a wood texture. If it should be concrete, it's a concrete texture. You're not using metal on something that probably should be made out of glass, and you're not using glass on something that would likely be made out of metal. It should be appropriate, and all of your shapes should have textures. So creativity. Now, creativity can seem kind of subjective, but it's really not. When you're working on your project, when you're thinking of what to build, that's where that creativity is really going to come in. And then in your expression of building it, it's going to be creative. Are you doing the same thing that could be obvious to build on SketchUp, that would just be the obvious choice? Or if you really put thought into it, like, hey, a stroller with rocket boosters, that's a pretty creative idea. If I was just building a stroller, is that really creative? I mean, the idea might not be creative, but if it's just something simple and basic that people have already seen before, then I should be really creative in the way that I build it. It should be creatively designed in my own way. Okay, so it doesn't mean that your idea has to be crazy cool idea, nor does your, like, the way that you've built it have to be super creative in the way that you make it. But there has to be that creative element somewhere. It should be in the idea, in the general project that you're building, or it should be in the way that you built your project, or it should be both. Okay, so like one, the other, or both. Okay, and obviously, ideally, that creativity is found in both of those ways. Okay, it's a creative idea, and you designed it creatively. Okay, and the final thing is aesthetics. And this is pretty simple. How does it look? Is it attractive? Does it look really great? Or do I look at it and say this design needs major work? That's a good question, right? So to the eye, how does this project look? All right, and that's it. So with that being said, those are the eight. Categories where you'll be graded, and your final grade will be calculated by dividing your total points by 32. So if you get 24 points, your grade will be 24 out of 32 or a 75. So hopefully you do better than that. And in order to do better than that, all you got to do is get, 4s and 3s. If you're getting 2s, you're not going to be doing well. If you're getting 1s, definitely not. You got to be getting 4s and 3s, hopefully all 4s. But definitely at least some 4s in there and mostly 3s, and no 2s and 1s, because that's going to really hurt your grade. Okay, so with that being said, that is the overall description of my grading rubric, and I hope that's been pretty clear. If you have any questions at all, like, hey, is this a creative idea, or, how can I make it more creative? If you want to check in with me and ask me questions, always ask me questions. Use Google Chat. People have been using it already. Contact me. Don't wait until the final project deadline at 11 o'clock at night to try to ask me a question, though. Ask me questions as we go throughout the week, and I'll do my best to give you pointers. And I'll even tell you, hey, I think you should do this. Add this element. That's going to be really cool. I'll give you pointers. I'm glad to help you, but you got to get in touch. Okay, so with that being said, the final thing to talk about is how are we going to export this project? Well, this is what you're going to do. Previously, you've exported a PNG file and then just submitted that. But I'm actually going to have you do something a little bit different. You're going to export an STL file. And why is that? Well, because when you export an STL file, I get something like this that I can rotate and look at all of it. It's not just a single image. I can rotate through and just look at every different aspect of what you created, which is what I want. I don't want to just see one view. I want to see your whole thing 360 degrees all the way around. Cool? So STL file, that's what I'm looking for. So how do you do that? Well, it's really simple. All you do, you click on folder. You don't do save as. Obviously, remember, save early and often when you're building things in SketchUp. The last thing you want to do is lose your work. Okay, so you're not doing save as. You're doing export STL. Click that, and that's it. And it's going to save it for you. I don't know exactly how it's going to work for you on your Chromebook, but for me, it just saves it. And then I click Show in Finder, and there it is. Same deal as what I've already done once before. So pretty cool. Love it. Love to have the opportunity to really see it from every angle. So you exported it, and then you go into My CCA on the assignment and you submit it. And here's the deal for that. For each progress update, for both progress updates and the final project, I'm going to have separate assignments. So you'll see them on My CCA. It will come up as an assignment. You have to submit each and every time. Okay? And guys, I know sometimes I talk to all of you already on one-on-one, and I know that you're having a tough time in some cases to keep track of your assignments. But here's the deal. Long story short, just check My CCA. Look, if you check your My CCA calendar and there's an assignment due on that day, then you've got an assignment due on that day. And so for me, I'm going to be posting these assignments in advance, so you'll be able to see them early on your My CCA calendar. Make sure you get everything in on time. Okay? All right. So I think that about covers everything. I think that I'm really excited to see what you guys end up building. And just remember, guys, that the overall idea here for this project is for you to really explore SketchUp. Be on the lookout. I'm going to create 2 videos that are going to have like little mini tutorials in SketchUp for you. So as you're working, it can help you along the way. But this screencast is already long enough. I'm not going to make it any longer than this. So do yourself a service and dive deep into SketchUp. Remember, guys, this tool is available to you even after you leave CCA. You can have graduated in 10 years, been in college and done, and you'll still have this free version of SketchUp account. It's going to be available to you. You can sign in with a new Google address. You'll always be able to have this as long as SketchUp supports it, and it looks like it's going to be a while. So this is a tool that you'll have access to, and you can do whatever you want with it. So use it, have fun with it, and learn. All right, like I said, it's already been long, so that's it for me for now. Until next time, enjoy engineering.